When danger surrounds the weak, true courage steps forward to protect. By J. African Tales.
Long ago, in a quiet village surrounded by thick green trees, there lived a group of hunters who were known for their courage and kindness, and every morning, before the sun rose high in the sky, they would carry their tools and walk together into the deep forest where many wild animals lived and strange sounds filled the air. The forest was not an easy place to enter because the trees stood tall and close to each other, their branches blocking much of the sunlight, and the ground was covered with dry leaves that made soft cracking sounds whenever someone stepped on them, while birds sang loudly above and monkeys jumped from tree to tree as if they owned the whole place. On this particular day, the hunters walked deeper than they had ever gone before, moving carefully and watching every corner because they knew that dangerous animals like leopards and chimpanzees lived in that part of the forest, and they had to be very alert so that nothing would catch them by surprise. As they continued walking, one of the hunters suddenly raised his hand to stop the others because he had heard a strange and fearful sound coming from a distance, and it did not sound like the usual noise of the forest, but rather like a cry for help, soft but full of fear, as if a small animal was in serious trouble. The hunters looked at each other with concern, and without saying much, they slowly began to follow the direction of the sound, stepping quietly and carefully so that they would not scare away whatever was making that cry. And as they moved closer, the sound became clearer and more desperate, making their hearts beat faster with both fear and curiosity. They did not yet know what they were about to see, but deep inside, they felt that something important was happening ahead, something that would test their bravery and kindness in a way they had never experienced before. As the hunters moved closer to where the fearful sound was coming from, they began to slow down even more, placing each step carefully on the ground so that the dry leaves would not make loud noises. And their eyes searched every corner of the forest because they knew danger could be hiding anywhere. Soon, they reached a small open space between the trees, and what they saw made them stop at once, their hearts beating fast as they quietly hid behind thick bushes and strong tree trunks so that they could watch without being seen. In the middle of that open space, there was a small monkey sitting on the ground, shaking with fear and looking around helplessly because it was surrounded by two very dangerous animals, a big spotted leopard with sharp eyes and powerful legs, and a strong, angry chimpanzee with large arms and a loud, deep voice that echoed through the trees. The monkey tried to move, but every time it made even a small movement, the leopard would step closer with slow and careful steps, showing its sharp teeth, while the chimpanzee would beat its chest and make loud noises, as if warning the monkey that there was no way to escape. The hunters could see that the monkey was tired and weak, and it looked like it had already tried to run many times but had failed, and now it was trapped between two powerful animals that were both ready to attack at any moment. One of the hunters quietly whispered to the others that they could not just stand there and watch, because even though they had come to the forest to hunt, they were also men with kind hearts who could not ignore a helpless creature in danger, especially one that could not fight back or defend itself. The others nodded slowly, but fear was also in their eyes, because they knew that facing a leopard and a strong chimpanzee at the same time was not an easy thing, and one wrong move could put all of them in serious danger. Still, as they watched the small monkey trembling and letting out soft cries, they began to understand that this was not just a normal day in the forest, but a moment where they would have to choose between walking away safely or risking their lives to do what was right. As the hunters stayed hidden behind the trees and bushes, watching the small monkey shaking with fear between the leopard and the strong chimpanzee, their hearts became heavy, because they knew that if they waited any longer, the poor monkey might not survive. One of the hunters slowly leaned closer to the others and began to whisper carefully, making sure his voice was very low so that the dangerous animals would not hear them. And he told them that they needed a good plan because rushing in without thinking could lead to disaster and they might all get hurt. The hunters listened closely, their eyes still fixed on the scene before them as the leopard continued to walk slowly around the monkey like a shadow, and the chimpanzee made loud warning sounds while hitting its chest, showing its strength and anger. The hunter who was speaking explained that they needed to separate the two dangerous animals because fighting both at the same time would be too risky, and if they could distract one of them, then the others might be able to save the monkey quickly before anything terrible happened. Another hunter quietly suggested that they could use fire and loud noises to scare the animals because many wild animals feared sudden sounds and bright flames, especially when they came from different directions at once, making it harder for them to know where the real danger was. The group nodded slowly, understanding that this plan could work if they moved together and stayed brave. And so they began to prepare themselves, holding their tools tightly while looking at each other with serious faces, knowing that what they were about to do would require both courage and careful timing. At that moment, the monkey let out another soft cry, weaker than before, and this sound pushed the hunters to act quickly because they could see that time was running out, and if they did not move now, it might be too late to save the helpless creature. With a final silent agreement, the hunters took deep breaths and got ready to step out of their hiding places, each one knowing exactly what they had to do, as they prepared to face the leopard and the strong chimpanzee in a moment that would test their bravery like never before. With their plan ready and their hearts beating fast, the hunters stepped out of their hiding places at the same time, moving with courage and careful steps as they began to make loud noises by shouting and hitting their tools against the trees, while one of them quickly lit a small fire using dry leaves and sticks to create bright flames that danced in the air. The sudden noise and light broke the silence of the forest, and both the leopard and the strong chimpanzee stopped what they were doing and turned quickly toward the hunters, their eyes wide with surprise and anger as they tried to understand where the new danger was coming from. The leopard growled deeply and began to move toward the hunters with slow but powerful steps, while the chimpanzee screamed loudly and climbed onto a nearby tree, shaking its branches as if trying to show that it was not afraid, but the confusion between the noise, the fire, and the movement of the hunters made it difficult for the two animals to act together. Just as they had planned, some of the hunters continued making loud sounds and waving the fire to distract the leopard, forcing it to step back and move in a different direction, while the others quickly ran toward the small monkey, their movements fast but careful so they would not frighten it even more. The monkey, weak and shaking, looked up at the hunters with wide eyes, unsure if they were there to harm or help, but one of the hunters gently spoke in a calm and soft voice while slowly reaching out his hands, showing that they meant no danger. And after a moment of hesitation, the monkey allowed itself to be lifted. As soon as the monkey was safely in their arms, the hunters began to move back slowly, still making noise and keeping the fire between them and the leopard, while the chimpanzee watched from above, letting out loud cries that echoed through the forest as if calling for something unknown. Just when the hunters thought the danger was over and they had successfully rescued the monkey, the forest suddenly grew quiet in a strange and heavy way, and from deeper within the trees came a low, powerful sound that none of them had heard before, a sound that made even the leopard stop and look into the darkness. The hunters froze for a moment, holding the monkey tightly as they looked around with fear and confusion, realizing that something else was coming, something stronger and more mysterious than they had expected. And at that moment, they understood that their journey in the forest was far from over. As the strange and powerful sound faded slowly into the deep forest, everything became quiet again, and even the leopard stepped back before finally turning away and disappearing into the thick trees, while the chimpanzee climbed higher and moved off from branch to branch until it was no longer seen, as if the forest itself had decided that the fight was over. The hunters stood still for a moment, holding the small monkey safely in their arms, their hearts still beating fast as they looked around carefully to make sure that no more danger was coming. And when they were finally sure that the forest had returned to calm, they began to walk slowly back toward their village. As they walked, one of the hunters carried the monkey gently, speaking to it in a soft and kind voice so that it would not be afraid, and little by little, the monkey stopped shaking and began to feel safe, holding onto the hunter as if it knew it had been saved. When they reached the edge of the forest, the sunlight shone brightly on them, and the cool village breeze welcomed them back. And the hunters felt proud, not because they had faced danger, but because they had chosen to help a helpless creature when it needed them the most. Before they left the monkey, they placed it carefully near a group of trees where it could climb and return to its home. And the monkey looked back at them for a moment, its eyes calm and thankful, before it slowly climbed up and disappeared into the branches, free once again. The hunters looked at each other and smiled, understanding something important in their hearts. That true strength is not only about fighting or hunting, but also about showing kindness, helping others, and doing what is right, even when it is difficult and dangerous. From that day on, the story of the hunters and the monkey spread through the village and beyond, teaching everyone who heard it that courage and kindness together can change even the most dangerous moment into something good, and that helping others will always leave a mark that can never be forgotten.
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe to J African Tales.